All right, everybody, how are you doing out there? This is Just James checking in. We are at Bishop HQ for another episode of Fridays with Franco. Mr. Franco, how are you doing today?
Thank God it's Friday. I know that seems corny, but I learned a long time ago not to work the weekends because you got to let your mind rest, especially if you're creative. If you keep going, you end up not being able to do your best. You know what I mean? So thank God it's Friday, man. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend. We've been missing in action. We've been creating new products. We've been doing a lot of fun stuff behind the scenes. So today we're going to talk about a topic that a lot of people send us messages about. How do I repair my machine? How do I maintain my machine? How do I get the longevity that it needs or that it deserves? The do's and don't do's. Just basically how to properly maintain your rotary machine.
I'm kind of thinking we have a little bit of fun today. I mean, we have a guest over here with us.
We do actually. So what makes these fun is your guys' support and your questions. Random people pop by. We got my dear brother Luke Westman. He just happened to pop by and get some supplies. So I thought it'd be a fun thing just to kind of chat with him and see what he's up to. And Luke, come hang with me for a minute before we get into this machine maintenance. I'm sure you guys have heard of Luke Westman. He is the homie's homie.
What's up?
The tattoo artist. Oh,
yeah.
What's up, my brother?
What's up, man?
Good to
see you.
You
Good
too,
to see
man.
you.
You too. So we got a cool audience. Now, these are tattoo artists from all around the world, man. We get a lot of people asking questions. As I told you earlier, we like to inspire through what we do. Let's talk about like the industry as a whole. We've been hit with COVID and things just kind of got rattled up, man. Like, what do you think about the times we're in? Like, do you think it's a time to advance to the next level?
I mean, I think anytime there's there's hardship, it's a room for growth, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us have looked for new avenues and pushed ourselves in different ways artistically, which has been, I think, a blessing. Forced blessing, where you have to force yourself to kind of get creative in different ways and find different avenues to make income. I think tattooers in general are hustlers and hard workers and creative people. So I think the pandemic, as hard as it is, I think a lot of us tattooers were ready. You know what I mean?
What have you been up to? What's going on with Luke Westman nowadays?
If we're talking about pandemic, I just spent 20 years tattooing and not selling original paintings.
Okay.
So when the pandemic hit, I said, hey, for the first time in 20 years, I'm going to sell original paintings.
Yeah.
And luckily, I had built enough clout that I had more work than I could deal with for the last year. So I painted from morning to night every day for like the first 6 months of the pandemic. And then I restructured my clothing stuff and my prints and artwork and started just working on that other side that I never had time to do. And then now I'm kind of just in a nice place where I'm doing some charity work. I'm painting a helmet for this Distinguished Gentleman Ride.
Cool.
They do every year, and it's a ride that they raise money for cancer, prostate cancer research, and men's general health, suicide prevention. And so I think because of the pandemic, they can't ride the same way, but it's a ride where everyone around the world gets together and they dress dapper and they do this ride and they raise money. So I'm painting a motorcycle helmet for that right now.
I'm gonna try to bid on that one and get it, man.
If it comes out good, I don't know. I haven't painted many helmets.
Speaking of philanthropy, a lot of tattoo artists can get just immersed in this world of tattooing, and nowadays especially they want to become famous and they want to get all these followers and whatnot. How important is it to not just be a tattoo artist, but to give back to the community?
I mean, I think you just get so much by giving, and I think it's everything. You know what I mean? I think if you're working only for yourself in this life, you're really doing your life and your legacy a disservice. And the more I find things to give back and ways to give back, just the better I feel. So it's really a selfish thing too.
It's the one thing we're allowed to do, right? It's that feeling that you get when you give, right? It's you're allowed to feel that way because a lot of people don't do it. And one of the things we like to preach on really and talk about in depth is not just being a tattoo artist, but being so much more, right? Yeah. Being so much more than a tattoo artist. Because I think that with social media and just this new realm that we're living on. Everybody's just kind of like out for themselves, it seems like.
Yeah.
And what we really want to do is just kind of let people understand that there's so much more we're capable of doing. Like you said, paintings, like tattoo artists. Again, we get stuck in this realm of tattooing every day. We all want to sell art. My good buddy Noah taught me a long time ago the benefits of selling your artwork. You make pillow money, right? So you tattoo by day, sell art by night. So if you guys are doing artwork out there, jump into it a little bit.
It's a lifesaver. And just to speak on like what we get stuck into as tattooers, I mean, I think for me it's always been first off, we're human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And tattooing is not really what defines us. It's how we interact and treat people, and that goes through any profession. So.
Yeah, big time. Because I always say, like, you know, we've known tattoo artists that have been tattooing for 20 years and they're booked maybe 2 weeks. Then we know artists that are maybe 2, 3, 4 years in the game and they're booked for a year solid.
Yeah.
It's really about how you treat the customer. And Luke's a great example of that. So the audience is great, man. We get diverse tattoo art. James, where are some of our guys from? Guys and girls tattoo artists.
Man, checking in here or just in general?
In general and checking in.
Well, we want to know where everybody's checking in at home. We're out here in Lake Forest, California, but I do know we've got people already tuning in from Spain. We've got Singapore checking in. We've got Brazil checking in. We've got plenty of people in California and out here in the States. And again, we just want to thank you guys all for tuning in and taking some time with our brothers over here.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions, we'll probably shoot for another 5 minutes from the hip and just talk tattoo. If you got a question or two for Mr. Luke Westman, shoot them down this way. But what do you have to say? This is your moment to just chat with tattooers from all around the world. What are some of the philosophies you believe in, and how do you approach tattooing? I know it's a broad question.
Yeah,
but,
God, on the spot here, I would say just how I've always approached tattooing is just how you treat people. How you treat your brothers and sisters in the craft, how you treat your clients means everything, you know? Cool guy shit doesn't fly, and it doesn't help for longevity. So treat everyone with respect and kindness and be open. And that's just always been my guide, and it's always helped me through so many cool things in life, you know? And being open to projects and taking on, you know, things that maybe you thought were too big for you, as far as like charity projects and shit like that. I mean, just be cool, you know?
Yeah.
And you'll be all right.
That is the philosophy, and especially to all the youngsters learning to tattoo. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's kind of our goal that we really help form some foundational philosophies of what it takes to be a tattoo artist of integrity, I would say, right? Because it's so much more than just learning how to do cool tattoos.
Yeah, that's just one element. You
know?
And your reputation is everything. Your skill level is everything, but reputation is equally as big. So how you treat people, how you treat your clients, is a huge part of tattooing, more so than just being an amazing artist.
Well, and
world.
I think that's a nod, at least with, you know, my observation of getting to know you over time, is not you've seen it all. You know, you've been on television, you've been everywhere, and yet you're still one of the most genuine, down-to-earth human beings. And I think that says a lot about the people who've really hit a pinnacle in their career, and you're still just as accessible as you were 10 years ago, and you still have that hustle and that drive. But the way you treat people, I think that's what you make us. First time I met you, made me feel like I was one of the most important people in the room.
I love that, man. I love that I was able to put that off, because it's true, you know?
Heck yeah. I think that every tattoo artist is essentially a healer. And what is it to heal? Healing can just be making somebody feel good, because we all go through shit, right? And so every time we have a client at our station, you know, we get into deep talks and stuff. But I find there's essentially two kinds of tattoo artists: the ones that really don't talk to the customers, and the ones that do. And I think that, you know, the nature of being a tattoo artist, we learn so much. They say hairstylists and bartenders end up becoming like psychologists, but I think the number one is probably tattoos.
I would agree.
Because we spend more intimate time with them. We're not just serving them a quick drink and coming to check on them 10, 15 minutes later. It's, you know, sometimes a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hour session, and they tend to go deep and open up. So I think that after 5 to 10 to 15 years, you're capable of really affecting someone's life in a good way. So I always encourage people, if you're tattooing, man, like the goal, besides giving them an awesome tattoo, which should be the goal, it should be to make them feel better about themselves and to help them, you know, with what they're going through. It's an opportunity.
Yeah, how do you feel about like tattooers that wear like headphones and stuff, and they just totally disconnect from their client?
So that's something that's something I heavily talk about with people, you know, that join the team, or even people I've apprenticed, you know, like Lex and Zero and Letitia. I think, and this is just my thought. So if this is something that doesn't resonate with you, or you're a headphone user, I'm not knocking anybody, but this is my philosophy as a tattoo artist, and I come from a 27-year background of being a tattoo artist. I subscribe to some of the old school philosophies like Jack Rudy has, and Good Time Charlie and stuff like that. So I feel like, you know, customer service is always going to be number one. That's what it is for our brand, and that's what it is for your brand as a tattoo artist. Like Luke Westman has a brand. He has a company. It's Luke Westman brand and image. And so if you're a guy that wears headphones, it's all good, right? But if you're someone that wants to grow your brand, and you're asking me my opinion, never wear headphones. That's a chance for you to intimately connect with the customer. And here's what I've seen over the years. You tattoo one guy and you strike up a good conversation. You don't necessarily have to be a comedian or be the best talker. I never was. You learn it. It's a skill that you learn over the years by opening up and continuing to talk. But what I would say is take the earphones off, man, because that client is paying you money, not just to get tattooed, but he wants to connect with you. And if you don't know that, now you do. They want to connect with you, and what happens is they end up coming back and telling all their friends about you.
Yeah, it's just you connect deeper than just the art, and the art is big. If you're a badass tattooer and you're doing a beautiful piece, I mean, I guess that's the end game, but you're missing out on the connection, the human connection.
Yeah, big time. That human connection is why we're all here on Earth, you know, and it's something that you can cultivate and customize as a tattoo artist. Like, what is your message? Do you want to have your clients leave with a nice tattoo and feeling good about themselves? And again, over the years, you collect a lot of data. Like I've heard divorce stories times 1,000. I've heard murder stories. I've heard anything you've ever heard of. So you tend to start to kind of like understand a little bit more about life, and you can share those with people and make them feel better. Now, sometimes like at busy conventions and it's really noisy, I think it's cool to pop some headphones on if you're that kind of artist that needs to disconnect from the noise. But yeah, in general, it's good to connect.
Yeah, and not a knock on people that do. It's just like, this is how I see it, and I think we see it the same.
Yeah, it all depends on how big you want your brand to grow. And I always tell people, like, each tattoo artist is their own individual brand. Cartoon wasn't always cartoon brand. You know, Luke Westman wasn't always Luke Westman brand. Carlos Torres wasn't always Carlos Torres brand. Through the years of doing things right and treating people good and not wearing headphones, you cultivate that kind of following. Yeah. All right, they're going to probably kick my butt if I don't start talking about. You want to share anything else with the audience before you scram on out of here?
Nah, just, you know, like we said, just be a good person, you know, and do your best.
Speaking of brand, what's your socials?
Yep.
My socials is just my name, Luke Westman. That's Instagram, Twitter, everything. You know, I was lucky enough to get it early enough where I didn't have to have any tricky numbers or anything.
Yeah, big time.
But
big time.
good to see you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I
good to run into my
the
friends.
Advanced technology that's going on here too.
He's
Man.
recently trying
converted.
out these coil or these rotary machines. The Packer, actually, and
I use it almost every day. So
and a battery pack. This guy just
the battery pack's a game
battery
changer.
packs, cartridges, and rotaries like all in one day.
The battery pack is everything, especially when you're making fancy house calls. You just come in with a little battery pack.
No
Don't need to
plugins.
worry about where the plug is.
Oh man, I love it. Heck
Thank you,
brother.
bro.
Thank you again for coming by.
All right, I'm out.
We
Charged
catching
up to have our brother, Mr. Luke Westman,
Yes,
out here.
sir.
Thank you for coming by today. And
That's the beautiful thing about headquarters, man. We get to hang out with our friends, and it's a good thing. Yeah. So let's get into the machine maintenance. We'll start with the wand. And I always say, your machines can last a lot longer. It's like anything. It's like a piece of sporting equipment, whether it be a fishing pole or a snowboard. It could be like a car. The better you take care of it, the longer it's going to last. I mean, we've seen people with V1s from 2007, 2008 that are still working perfect 12, 13 years later. I've seen people bring machines back a year later and they don't work anymore, and we take it apart and there's just, you know, maticide, water damage, you name it, just all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's what we're going to first talk about is any machine, right? If you're going to cold sterilize it, if you're going to spray it down with maticide, don't spray it on the entire machine. What you want to do is you take it apart, you get a cloth, and you spray that cloth down, okay, and then you wipe the machine down very carefully 2 or 3 times. Just really want to make sure you cover each section of the machine perfectly, and that's really how you want to do it. So that's kind of first and foremost is when you're cleaning your machines down with maticide or cavicide, be very diligent. Don't just spray the whole thing. We've seen people do that. They spray it down the center. It goes right to the motor and damages the motor. Okay, so the wand, very simple machine. There's no give, there's no gimmicks. It's just a very simple machine. I think what makes the wand a beautiful machine is it was designed with the right pairing of the motor torque, motor RPM, and the cam. And again, this is something that's cool about tattoo artists making equipment. We know what we need for you guys to be happy. So we're going to start off with the wand. It's a relatively quiet machine. It's the direct drive machine. Now, what we do in terms of maintenance, besides cleaning it down, besides wrapping it up correctly, here's what you do. So I would say every 50 to 60 hours of use, maybe if you're using this machine relatively for every tattoo, I'd say every 2 to 3 months, what you want to do is take this Krytox, and this stuff is expensive. This is not just lube. This is Krytox. It's pretty hardcore. It's a really good lubricant. And what you want to do is you spray. Is that good on camera? You can see this pretty good?
Yep.
Okay, you want to put about a teardrop size, almost like you're putting frosting on a cupcake. Okay, just like that. And then what you're going to do, let me use this battery pack. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to turn the power on, okay, and you get this Krytox, and hopefully you can see the center of the machine. There's a little hole where the plunge bar is. You want to feed it into that hole, let it run for about 10-15 seconds, and then kind of just clean up the excess with this side of the Q-tip. Everyone's got Q-tips. So that's what you'll do like I said, every 50 to 60 hours of use, every 2 to 3 months, you'll do that. You don't need any more than just that little teardrop size on here. That keeps your machine running smooth, and it keeps it running as quiet as possible. And that is pretty much the best way to do this machine. Another thing you can do is you take the motor out, okay? And, well, here, let me take this off too. So if you're going to detail your machine, and I always recommend, just like you detail your car, just like you detail anything, your shoes, whatnot, you take this out. Now these individual pieces, so the motor, this is the most finicky part of the machine. You don't want to spray or get liquid on the motor. As we all know, that it damages phones, it damages motors. But these two pieces don't have any motor components to them. So what you could do is you could spray these down separately with maticide or cavicide and clean them really well with a Q-tip, with a rag, right? So these you can isolate and clean properly alone and be a little bit more loose with the liquids. Obviously wait till they're dry. If you want to make sure your motor is clean too, you can get a Q-tip and just kind of, with alcohol or maticide, just kind of clean through it, making sure that it just stays, performing nice throughout the years. And again, if you do clean this piece separately, you definitely want to wait to lubricate it afterwards. There's a little O-ring on this back plate, so it fits snug and tight. You want to make sure you squeeze it all the way, turn it all the way to the end. Another thing too, especially if you clean this, put a little drop of Krytox on the O-ring and a little bit over here in the threading, okay? And that just keeps the rotation really smooth, just kind of work its way in there. Very simple with the one. That's really all you have to do, okay? Small machine, very powerful. For those of you guys that are using these machines, thank you for the awesome feedback. We love it. This is one of my personal favorite machines I'm using right now. So this maintenance goes It's the same with the liner, packer, and shader. So same exact everything. Take care of your machines. It's worth it to do this every 2 months. Just sit down. It's kind of fun, actually. You sit down, you take your machine apart, you clean it, you put it back together, re-lubricate it. You're good to go. That kind of maintenance will make these machines last 2, 3, 4 times longer. And again, everything is a component. So if something breaks, it's very easy to replace. You get a new motor backplate, you pop it in. So that's pretty much it. And again, if you guys have any questions on the wand, even though I'm moving on to another machine, if you guys have any questions about the wand maintenance, chime in. We'd be happy to answer it.
Yeah, Franco's gonna run through all the different machines at the moment with just a little bit of maintenance, and then at the end we've got some time set aside for a little Q&A. So get those questions, go ahead and throw them in the comments. If we don't address them here on the live, we've got Gabe on the answering all the questions over there on Facebook. So
yeah,
fire away. And
there's many questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Like I said, we're here to support you guys. We're here to educate you guys. That's what Bishop is. It's an educational platform. We're here for you. And so any question, we will answer. We happen to sell tattoo supplies and machines, but we're really here to educate and transform the foundation of tattooing and lead that into the best case scenario of the future of tattooing, tattoo products, tattoo supplies, and tattoo machines. And again, last thing is your wand will come with an instructional pamphlet complete with a story of Bishop for those that are curious, a little bit of information on the features and kind of like what this machine is and what it has, what kind of engine, and then the recommended voltage. Again, on these ones right here on the packer, so this is actually something I will talk about really quick. So, okay, so these two machines, the liner and the packer, they have the same motor. It's a brushless, very powerful motor. The difference in these two is a stroke. You have a 5.0 stroke in the wand liner, which is incredible. For those that have used this machine for lining, you're blown away. For those that have the packer, it's got a 4.2 stroke, so a little less power, but still a lot. I mean, a lot of people are lining with this. This is kind of the do-it-all machine. So if you're very familiar with rotary machines, you can pretty much get away with everything with just this one machine, the packer. It'll line, shade, color, it'll do it all. Liners are more for people that haven't quite got the hang of how to line with a rotary machine. It makes it a little bit easier. I mean, we've seen countless people that could never line with a rotary machine completely snap into the rhythm with this liner. There's no other machine out there that really has a 5.0 stroke in a pen style machine at all, let alone a regular. There might be one or two in the world, but 5.0 is a heavy duty stroke. Same motor, therefore the recommended voltage for these is between 6 and 8. The recommended voltage for the shader has a completely different motor. When you talk about RPMs, rounds per minute, so let's just say 6 to 8 volts, let's just say that spins at average 8,000 RPMs. This machine has got a different motor, so you'll run this between 8 and 10, which will have around 8,000 RPMs. So it's just a different nominal voltage. I won't get into that confusing aspect, but in general, a nominal voltage means if one motor has a nominal 9 volt voltage and that spins at 8,000 RPM, and the other has a 6 volt nominal voltage, at 6 volts that motor will spin at 8,000 RPM. So although they are the same looking machines, we really do have different motors, different strokes, and that's what makes these three machines behave differently. Okay, any questions, shoot them my way.
Let me see here. Well, we've got just some people checking in. Christopher Lee, aw snap, Bishop all day, super excited to tune in. Let's see here. Joseph Jones, bought the packer, loved it too much. I bought the shader and the liner. Got rid of his Sol Nova, Hawk Thunder, and Zion. They became paperweights.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's talk. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Let's talk about that for a second. So these three machines, like, you know, when we first launched them, people were confused. And again, I've been building rotary machines for 27 years. Okay, so this is what I do. I love building machines. We started Bishop, kind of like tinkered with it in 2006. It kind of became a brand in about 2008. But I came from a world of coils and rotaries, old school style. And it was not abnormal to go to a convention and see practically every artist with like 5 or 6 coil machines laid out on the table for a tattoo. One was good for lining, one was good for shading, one was good for color packing. So the overall psychology of more than one machine, that's not new to the tattoo industry. It's not new to any industry. If you're golfing, you don't just golf with one club. If you're a race car driver, you have a different car for the track, a different car for off-road. Like I said, you're playing sports. There's different equipment for anything that you do. In tattooing, it's a technical thing. Any kind of surgeons, they don't have one scalpel; they have several. So the approach to tattooing should be the same. Like if you're going to be, doing a tattoo, especially if you're an all-around tattoo artist, you do line work, lettering, color, black and gray. That means you kind of need a different tool for each one. So the reason why we came out with 3 machines really was to help you guys have the right tool for the right job. This shader has a very soft motor, a lot softer than these two. So this machine, along with a 3.5 stroke, which is a little bit shorter than these two, that really allows you to layer and carefully calculate your black and gray layers without having too much. This is more for the artist that wants to layer his work and have a little bit more forgiveness. But you crank this up to 10 volts, you can do some excellent 3RL line work, single needle line work. It's a great thing. So there's a different stroke for everything you guys need. And any other questions?
Yeah, I actually got a great one from our brother Remco Gazan asking, he just dropped his shader 1 and it still works. Is there anything he should do? He's about ready to praise it, or should he lube it a little extra? What are some precautionary...
Yeah, what's cool about these wands is they're very simple. They're made simple, right? Back when I was engineering machines in 2008, I would always try to do these complicated, awesome, cool, weird things. Then I realized the best type of engineering is to reach your goal in the most simplistic way. That's the best engineering. If you could reach your goal, your invention, what you want to achieve with the least amount of components, well, you won, because each component that you have from A to Z has a chance of breaking, right? Like look at all the components in a car. There's hundreds, if not thousands, and any one of them could break. So these wands are made very simple. It's a direct drive machine. It's linear. It's a linear direct drive component. But it goes motor, cam, plunger. There is no adjust your stroke, adjust your hit. And for those out there that preach that you only need one machine to do your tattoos, that's really not the case. I don't do that myself. You can definitely drive to Vegas in a Honda Accord, but if you own a Ferrari or you own a different car, a Bentley, you can cruise if you want to cruise. You can get there in 3 hours if you got the Ferrari. So it's like it really has to do with how you want to approach your tattooing. Do you want to kind of wing it and sort of kind of get decent at every tattoo with one machine? And if you are that guy, this is a very safe bet. It kind of does it all, especially if you don't need too much forgiveness with your black and gray. This machine will do it all. But again, there's different artists out there, so we try to make a piece of equipment for every type out there. So, any other?
Yeah, actually got 2 of them. One actually is just we want to wish a happy birthday to our brother Gregory Villalobos. It's his 40th birthday, and his wife just bought him a Packer wand. You definitely got to keep her, my friend. You definitely got to keep her.
She is a keeper.
Absolutely. And then the second one is our friend Luis Gonzalez is asking, why does he keep hearing that the shader wand has give?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So the shader wand, it's got a brushed motor. It's a Fallhaber motor. It's a 2607 Fallhaber motor. It's made with a lesser amount of torque. What is torque? Okay, so you got a rotating motor, right? You got the shaft. You got the shaft of the motor. Okay, you got the cam on it. The cam weighs. It has a specific weight to it. It turns that cam around. Okay, but ultimately the motor itself has a predetermined it's called millinewton meters. That's how it's measured. You measure the weight of a diamond by carats. You weigh food at the grocery store by pounds or ounces. You find your torque by millinewton meters in a motor. And so this has less millinewton meters. I won't get into the specifics. This has around 7 or 8 millinewton meters, where this is like almost 30 to 40% more. So that means, what does a millinewton meter do? What is torque? Okay, torque is basically, if you grab a motor with a cam and you have it cranked to like 8 or 9 volts and you try to stop it with your finger, okay, the lesser torque, the quicker you could stop it with your finger. When it's got a lot of torque, sometimes you can't stop it with your finger, or you got to really press on it, okay? So torque is basically the energy rotating around. It's almost like you're getting punched by a guy with really no power, or you're getting punched by Mike Tyson. Okay, which one's going to hurt more? Mike Tyson for sure, because he carries more power with that punch. So the softer punch will absorb. And so what happens is, the reason why this has somewhat of give in it, and I don't believe in adjustable give, because the subconscious mind will get used to that, right? The subconscious mind wants things to be simple. So since this has less torque, when you have it running 8 or 9 volts and you dig into the skin, it kind of like, not bogs down, but it kind of like slows down. And so instead of it being a hard hit, it's more of a softer hit. It's responding to the skin texture, to the skin hardness. Therefore, it's got a little bit of give. I call that organic give, because it's from the motor itself. It's not from like a setting or an adjustment or whatnot. And since this machine has a little bit of give built into the motor, that's where you get a little bit more forgiveness. So you're able to layer your black and gray a little bit more forgiving, you know. Some black and gray artists, they know what they're doing. They get right, like Carlos Torres, he gets right in there with the right tone. He wants a lot of power, he's done. Others want to finesse it little by little, just build it up. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, actually, we're getting some really good questions out there from you guys, and we want to thank you for chiming in here. Honestly, Franco, I think this may just have to be a wand episode, and we can go back to the other machines on another episode. So I think that may not be a bad thing, because we've got some really good ones here. Our friend Ivan Rossi's asking, sometimes with cartridges, when he plugs them in, and the shader machine doesn't start, just like the tip of the needle hangs out when he steps on the pedal. He has to adjust the needle depth so that the machine starts to run.
Good question.
Could it be a cartridge thing? Because with the FYTs, he hasn't had that issue.
Okay, so good question. So I'll explain. That's a good thing, by the way. So if you're using your shader machine and it doesn't seem to start, that's a good thing. Again, it goes back to power and torque, right? So remember, if you have a cartridge needle with a stiff membrane, like a Cheyenne membrane, very, very stiff. Like, in other words, what I mean by that is when you press this down, okay, the Cheyenne ones tend to, you have to really press them down. It's got a lot of tension. FYT and some of the other ones, including ours, we made it with less tension. We realized it didn't have to have that much tension. It actually makes the motor work harder, and we don't want that. So what we have is a little bit less tension, but what happens is when you put a cartridge needle into the shader, remember, this motor isn't as powerful as the other ones. So what do? You can spin it off all the way like this, so it's a little bit less. So when you start the motor, it starts. It fires the cartridge. Once the cartridge gets going, it won't stop. It's just that initial push. It needs to basically break past the tension in the membrane. Okay. So another thing you can do is you can start the machine without the cartridge in there. Start the machine, plug the cartridge in, and you can tattoo for hours and hours and hours. Again, what that is really is this machine is designed to have that less torque and have that give built in, so it's got less of a hit, and that's why it's a good thing ultimately, because it's really letting you know that this motor is a little less powerful for black and gray or for what you want to achieve. So hopefully that answers that question, and it's a good question because people ask that.
Our friend Danius Dainus, Skin Dainus from Lithuania wanted to ask about the Packer. Is it good for black work and large blackouts, or would you prefer to use the liner?
So the liner has got a lot of power. So you almost don't want to fill. You don't want to really do your fills with the Packer or with the liner. Sorry, this has a lot of power. You don't want to chew up the skin, especially if you're not a super experienced artist and you're just kind of getting into the game. Packer is what you want to fill that with. Packer is a great fill. You can do it at about 6 volts. I believe slow and steady is the way to really pack that color in, or pack that black in, to where you don't need to go over it. It's better to do one pass with a black fill. It's better to do one slow pass than to do two fast passes, and I'll tell you why. Going back to the square inch of skin. If the square inch of skin could only handle 1,000 punctures, and let's just say 1,000 punctures will make that square completely black and perfect, well, let's just say 1,500 punctures makes it heal like shit and potentially lose ink. Let's just say 500 punctures would make it appear to be blotchy and not really solid. Okay, so essentially the whole goal when you're tattooing is to have a perfect pass, the perfect amount of punctures per skin, whether it be color, black and gray, or a black fill. So when you're doing a black fill, 6 volts, maybe even 5. Just work it in there with your mag in those little circles, slow and steady, and you'll see that ink pour right in. And again, you don't have to go over it again, because when you go over it again, remember, you're hitting areas that were already perfect. So you take that square inch philosophy that could take 1,000 punctures to make it perfect, and you do 1,500, now it's going to heal like shit. It's got too much damage to the skin. The skin is like, it wants ink really bad. It loves tattoos. All skin loves tattoos. But each puncture is like, they got a limit. Like, at some point the skin is like, fuck me, stop it. No more. Like, I can't take any more punctures. Like, I'm gonna rebel, and I'm gonna heal like crap, and I'm gonna reject some of the ink. I only want the right amount. So that's the whole goal for tattooing. The skin wants the right amount of needles, punctures, depth, etc. That's a deep one, though. But if you have that philosophy, if you're always thinking, okay, how do I make this a perfect pass, and you're mindful about it, and you can just make your next tattoo better, right? Your next fill better, your next black and gray better. Always be mindful of that perfect pass. It's very possible.
Got a great question from our friend Casey White. With regards to working over scars or tougher skin, is that why more torque is better? Yes,
definitely. So if you're working over scars, you definitely don't want to use a shader at all. You want to use a packer. Liner, too much power. The packer has enough power to go right through the scar. Scars are just really tricky. It just behaves way different. You have to go over it slower, more methodical. But definitely need more. If you're going to do scar work or scar corrections or cover-ups like that, definitely want to get a little bit more power in that punch.
Joe Aguilar, these are just some comments. The packer has been great for large black work for him. Let me see. Our friend Joseph Jones. Honestly, I use the shader wand even when doing line work for the top of the hands, because the gentleness of the machine is capable of.
Yeah.
It's great for thinner skin and making sure that the minimal trauma with maximum saturation.
And again, what I said earlier is if it, and again, this is the beauty of having more than one machine. If, like me personally, if I'm doing single needle work, or if I'm doing 3RL work, or like a hand where I'm outlining, I'll use the shader because it's less forgiving. It's more forgiving. The chances of me doing a nice pass on a tight line at like 9 volts, 9.5 volts, even 10. I mean, look, one of my favorite artists, Aaron De La Vedova, out there in San Diego at Guru Tattoo. Aaron was using the Phantom, which has the same motor and stroke as the shader, for his huge color work, right? And so, although this is a softer machine, make no mistake about it. Like, this machine's a little tricky thing, because if you crank it to 10 volts, man, you can actually line with like a 9, an 11, even a 14. And Aaron's a good example of that. Like, I was blown away. Like, how, you're doing all your work with this. So yeah, if you crank this up to 10 volts, you're going to get some power out of it. So it's on the lower spectrum of strength, but not to be underrated, this machine.
All right, we got a great question from our friend Adam Estrada. Just picked up the shader and packer wand. Thank you for your support, my friend. Loves them, but he needs to get a better power supply. When will there be more B-charge power supplies, Franco? I think we should be making an announcement, I think, at the end of today's show.
We do have some good news. It's 12:41 right now, so I'll make an announcement around 12:55, somewhere around there, as to when we will be launching more battery packs. But if you're listening now, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, especially if you are interested in a potential battery pack.
We do have some questions actually about the V5 and the V6.
Okay, let's jump in. We promised, and we'd go over some machines.
We can at least get the V6 here. This is a good one.
Let's jump into the V6. This is the tried and true original machine, starting with the V1. If you guys have a V1, I buy them. So if you're looking to sell your V1, don't sell it to me. But if you do, I'll buy it, because there's very few out there in the world, and if you're a machine collector or if you have one, don't sell it to me. But if you need money and you want to sell it, hit me up, send me a DM, and I'll buy it from you for sure. Okay, V6.
Do you want? I've got a couple questions we can address right away, and then we can lead into the rest of that.
Perfect.
There. Chris Whitaker is asking, or I'm sorry, not Chris. CeeLo Lillahawker asking, hey Franco, if someone were using the V5 or the V6 with cartridges, would you have to remove the spring?
Yes, I mean, it's a good idea. Look, here's what I say: if you're going to be using the V6 with cartridges, remove the spring, and I'll tell you why. The spring acts as a cushion. Okay, it acts as a cushion on the V6. If you can see right there, the spring is located right there. So as the motor spins and pushes the slide down, it kind of braces itself. That's kind of how you get a little bit more quiet machine. It just makes it run smoother. But remember, the tension in a cartridge behaves the same exact way as a spring does. So if you have a spring in the machine and you're using cartridges, you're making that motor work double time, and that's not good. It's gonna be harder to push past the spring tension and past the tension of the membrane. So what you do is you remove the spring, and let's do that actually really quick. So each machine comes with a little manual, comes with an extra spring, and it comes with a tool, an Allen wrench. And what you do is you just very simply unscrew. We're going to kind of run through the machines now, James, but this is all simple stuff. You untighten it, you pull it out. Okay. Now, if you need to replace the cam, right? If you ever have a cam issue, let's just do that here. Very simple. You undo the set screw, and you put the new cam on. I'm just going to pretend we got the new cam, but make sure you tighten it really good, because you press it all the way down, you tighten it really good, and you make sure that it's sitting right. Okay, that's how you replace the cam and bearing, which is all in one unit, should you need to do that. The motor itself comes with the backplate, so if you ever have a motor issue and you're inside your warranty, we'll send you a new one. This is a custom motor that we made and manufactured. It's taken 2.5 years to create, and everything is custom on this motor. So anyhow, to take out the spring, if you're using cartridges, you remove the slide, you simply take out the spring, you put the slide back in, you align the mohawk of this backplate with the female receiver right here, and you kind of toggle the slide back and forth, up and down, until it finds its hole. Boom, there we go. You pop it in, you press down on the back on the RCA, and you simply tighten the set screw. Being careful not to over tighten it. Just right when you feel it bite into it, just give it a little push. Okay, there we go. Now you run it with the cartridges and you're good to go. So that's how you use the V6 with cartridges. Okay, if you're ever going back to traditional needles, put the spring back. And how do we do that? Well, let me show you. Unscrew the set screw, pop the motor out. Okay. We have the slide, boom, take the slide out, put the spring right back in the spring hole, and upside down, because if you go like this, the spring could tend to fall out. So upside down, you feed it back in, make sure it's perfect, double check it. Okay, press that down, you'll feel the spring tension, pop it back in, good to go. Okay, so there you tighten it. But now let's talk about one more thing: how to properly maintain this machine. Okay, so here's what we do. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take it apart. Okay, very simple. You pop it out. Okay, so if you're going to clean this machine, you basically remove the motor, you remove the slide, okay, and then what you'll do is you can gently spray some Cavicide or Maticide or alcohol, whatever. You know, we always tell people to wrap up their machines always, and to follow the OSHA methods of removing the wrap. That's always first and foremost. If for some reason there's dust on it or just anything, ink, something happened, an accident, and you want to clean it, you take it apart, separate the motor and slide, and you just, with a Q-tip, you get the Q-tip wet with Cavicide or Maticide, and you get in there and you clean the chamber, okay? You clean it really good. You get a rag, same thing, you spray the rag down, and you really wipe it down really good with the rag, okay? Cloth rag preferably, okay? Once that's done, you're gonna have to re-lubricate the slide. Okay, so let's pop this slide back in. Boom. And again, I would do this every 2 to 3 months. It doesn't hurt. And if you want to look at the motor and inspect it, make sure nothing's wrong with it, clean it up a little bit, you can do that too. Do not get any liquid. Do not ever spray the motor with liquid. Any machine. Not even Bishop's. Any machine in the world, you don't want to spray the machine with liquids. You always want to spray the towel and get the towel damp, and then you clean it like that. So pop this back in. Okay, let's go right here. There's always an extra spring. Every once in a while the spring will break. Very rare, but it happens. So if that ever happens, gosh, I would say 2 springs would probably last a lifetime, you know. And again, if you guys need any spare parts, bishoptattoosupply.com. We have all the spare parts, spare springs, spare lube, spare oil. Now this oil is primarily for the V6, okay?
And just to let you guys know, the oils and the Krytox, those come with the machines, but they're also available at Bishop Tattoo Supply.
Yeah, should you lose it or whatnot. So here's what you do. Okay, so now, and I don't recommend the battery packs for these machines. We are developing battery packs for the V6, for the Microangelo, but that's quite a few months down the pipeline. So I'm just going to simply show this just to show you how to lubricate it. That'd be a lot of back weight. Okay, so how to re-lube your machine, your V6 machine, after you take it apart. Get the lube or get the oil, pop the top off. Very, very specific. You want to do a teardrop size drop right in the middle here. Another teardrop right there. Then towards the end of the slide, towards the top, on both sides, both left and right. Okay. Now you want to let it run for a few. James, will you hand me a paper towel, please?
I can do that.
There we go. There we go. So you want to kind of let it run for about 30 seconds. Get that lubrication all the way inside. And then what you'll do is you'll get a towel and you'll simply, with the machine running, kind of absorb the rest. And you kind of want to fold the paper towel just to really get in the crevices. Okay. So the lubrication is where it belongs. It's inside the chamber. Okay. Wipe up all the excess. Boom. Your new machine is pretty, clean, and ready to go. Every 2 to 3 months, do this very carefully. Again, don't spray the motor down. And we do have some videos online too, just to further show you guys how to do this.
Yeah, guys, if you want to look
V6.
for any of the we have a bunch of informative videos on our YouTube channel. So when you get a chance, go check that out. We do have some of the other maintenance and repair videos up there as well.
Okay, so Microangelo. And if there's any V6 questions, shoot them my way.
Actually, I got one right here from our friend Neros Martinez asking. He has 2 V6 that are clip cord, but would like to get them converted to RCA. Should he send them in, or should he order the motor and do it himself?
Yes, it's so easy. So look, all you got to do is order the motor. Let me just show you how easy it is. Sorry, Microangelo. I'll get back to you. Microangelo's so forgiving. He's not even upset. Why? Because the V6 is his older brother. Okay, so that's it. So if you order the V6 motor, it's $129. It comes with a brand new cam, obviously a brand new motor, brand new backplate, RCA. Okay, so you simply take the clip cord version out. Okay, then you pop the RCA version in, just like that. It's so easy. Okay, everything else is the same. The motor, the cam and bearing, everything. So it's just a backplate. So that's exactly what will happen if you were to replace the clip cord with the RCA motor. Back at you, Microangelo. I love this machine. This machine has been years and years in the making.
That is probably, I mean, for traveling, that's got to be one of the most versatile.
This is kind of an all-in-one machine too. So I was very passionate about this machine. I invented something really cool, and I'm going to brag about it for a little bit because in this day and age, it's hard to come up with things that no one else has done. And we at Bishop have done this quite a bit of times, and we have been copied every single time. Most recently, we are starting to get copied with this invention here. Patent pending. Okay, so what's the quickest way to change your cam and bearing? Well, no tools. That's the quickest way. How did we achieve that? Okay, so we achieved that by having a magnetic cam. So it was very, very difficult to create. Now, a lot of times when you get a cam wheel that you can see and you can buy online, and you can kind of change it from like a 3.0 to like a 4 to a 4.5, what happens is it starts to become more wobbly and it becomes more vibrating because on those ones, when you change the stroke, it's making one side heavier, so it vibrates more. Okay, so we didn't do that with this one. We're getting close to time here. So real quick, so what we did is each one of these, we call these magnetic cam replacements, okay, magnetic cam cores. It's completely balanced. So a 3.5 and a 4.2 are completely balanced. The mass is the same. That was very tricky to do, and I won't get into the details because we're running out of time. But simply, what makes this machine unique is it's got a pretty powerful motor. It's got a 3.5 stroke that you simply pull out. Okay, it's magnetic. It almost feels good when it just pops in. Okay, if I want to switch to a 3.5, now since it is calibrated and balanced, there's a little notch on the front. Let's see, you can see it right there, the little notch on the front, right there. It aligns with the notch on the cam body. Boom, magnetic, awesome. We love this. So that's how you can kind of get a versatile machine. If you're lining, pop in the 4.2. If you're shading, pop in the 3.5. The recommended voltage for this machine is going to be between 7 and 9. It's got a nominal 9-volt motor, which means at 9 volts it spins at around 8,000 RPM. And it's got a lot of power. So this is kind of a do-it-all machine too. It's very lightweight, so some people may have some issues lining, but a lot of people don't because it's got a lot of power. This one is very simple. This is the newest version. I'm going to show you guys basically how to take it apart. It's very simple. Now, real quick, it comes with nipples. Let me pop this one in really quick. Yeah, we recommend the nipples we sell on the website. There's so many different nipples out there. Some of them have too big of a base on the bottom, so it kind of pushes the plunger bar out too much. Again, everything we have is calibrated, and so these nipples are super cheap. I think you get a bag of like 10 or 20 for really a couple bucks. It's got sort of a built-in rubber band O-ring. Okay, so pretty much
Now, Franco, I noticed that the Microangelo comes
glad I
with
found this.
2 plunger bars. Is there a
Yes.
reason for that?
So basically, this longer plunger bar, actually let me pop it on. This longer plunger bar is for adjustable cartridges, or adjustable grips, such as our Arma. And let's pop this on. The shorter one is if you're using like a regular grip with no adjustment. This is a good combination. I don't even know if we have the stainless steel ones available. They went fast, but yeah. I'll tell you what, you can line like a champion with the stainless steel grip. Okay.
And is that because of the weight
Wow.
of the stainless steel, or?
Oh my God, this is the weight of the stainless steel with this machine is magical. It's again, I don't recommend the battery pack for this machine, but to talk about it. It's a nice little setup right here. Nice little setup. So you can pretty much There we go. I had it cranked up pretty high. So yeah, you pretty much with this machine you can do a lot. You can do a lot with this machine. So again, it's mainly a cartridge machine, which is why we have the plunger bar. But you could use traditional needles as well. That's another cool thing about it. So that's it right here. It's very straight up. I'm going to show you one more thing really quick. I know time is of the essence here. What time do we have?
We've got 3 more minutes.
My goodness, my goodness. Okay, so check this out. This is one of my favorite things about this machine. Okay, really quick. Oh,
Yeah, because we have a giveaway.
that we do.
Ooh-wee.
We may go over, if there's a giveaway, we may go over. So.
Yeah,
It's okay.
Well, you know what? We're running out of time, but what's cool about this is there's a screw right here. You take it out, you take that screw out, and this whole motor pops out. Maybe on the next video we'll jump into a little bit of this machine maintenance. But essentially, this whole motor, if your motor goes bad, this whole motor comes out like a slug. So if you order another one, you just pop it right back in, and the tool right there, it's all you need. You're good to go. So that's the beauty of this machine. It's very simple, straightforward machine. No lubrication needed on this machine, by the way. No lubrication at all.
Maybe we'll do another machine maintenance with the Microangelo and the Phantom.
I think a lot of the questions we're getting, everyone, is right now it's primarily Phantom. It's primarily the Wand and the V6. Somewhat the Microangelo. It's a very straight up machine. So lesser questions with the Phantom, but we will touch base on the Phantom on the next one. But glad to answer the questions on the other machines that are right now pretty relevant.
You've talked about customer service. How important is that to Bishop, Franco?
So customer service is number one. Like, we want to beat all the competition, not because it's a game or not because it's competition, although it's always good to have competition, but it's really what we believe in. I'm a tattoo artist, right? So when I walk the halls at a convention, I want to be able to hold my head up high. I want to be able to make sure that no one's got issues with Bishop. That's why customer service is very important. We have a dedicated customer service department. We have many employees in the customer service department. We spend a lot of money in customer service. It's number one. And again, it goes back to I'm a tattoo artist, so I want to treat my people the same way as I want to be treated. So that's pretty much it. That's our philosophy. Line bishoptattoosupply.com. Hopefully you guys get one. These things they have to go through a pretty vigorous process in the creation of these things and testing and whatnot. So yeah.
Well, what's going to be nice is, if you don't catch one this round, we do have plenty more coming in here in the next week or so. So if you want to be on the notice for when the next B-Charge wireless power supplies come in, join up for our SMS list and for first access. So make sure you text Bishop VIP to 29071. And if you're international, that's +1 973 547 1071.
Again, thank you guys for tuning in. It's always our goal to educate, to show you guys the ways of the wise, and just to really teach you guys what we've learned throughout the journey of being a tattoo artist and a tattoo supply company. So we just want to share everything with you guys. That's our goal. There is no secrets. We will not tell you exactly the details of our motors because we get copied quite a bit. But hey, look, if you're buying a Bishop Rotary product, a Bishop Tattoo Supply product, you already know you're getting the customer service for free, and we pride ourselves on that again because, again, at the end of the day, I'm a tattoo artist, not just a tattoo company, so everything has to be according to how I would want it if I were you. Thank you guys again. Look forward to more episodes. Drop some comments. Let us know what you've learned, if you've learned anything. We're always watching. We're always looking out to see what you guys have to say and what you guys are thinking about. So thank you for tuning in.
Franco, as always, thank you for coming out here. We want to thank Luke Westman for coming out and joining us. But more importantly, we want to thank you all at home for tuning in for this week's Fridays with Franco. We will be announcing our next episode coming up here soon. So until then, y'all enjoy your weekend. Stay up, stay safe, stay positive. And remember, if nobody loves you, Bishop's got you.
True story.
And we out.